I was getting some questions earlier about the overlap between RC2 and Uplift. And all of the connections in my mind are very direct, but kind of unofficial. The Uplift program is working in certain counties. The RC2 program, the first cohort, represents certain communities. Some of those communities overlap. We don't know who's going to be in the second cohort yet, and some of those communities might overlap with Uplift as well. But regardless, Uplift has certain counties that are their core counties, and a lot of our programs on the ground, high touch programs are happening in those core counties, but we're also working in contiguous counties. So for example, Wednesday, I'm going to go visit Lola and Roy in Garysburg, and then like swing around and see Kelly in Hertford County. Well, both of those counties, Northampton and Hertford, are contiguous to our Uplift counties. So it like counts as both. And anything that's happening in Uplift, they are more than welcome. I will encourage them to participate in. At the same time, Uplift has a relationship with the other communities that were funded by ARPA. And so that's the Building Outdoor Communities program, which is in Western North Carolina, the CORE Creating Outdoor Recreation Economies program, which is based out of Commerce, where RC2 is based out of. And then the Main to Main Trail, which is part of the Main Street program out of Commerce. And then another program that is based in the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. So I feel very comfortable and have felt comfortable all my life kind of working with this organization, but also this one, and trying to, make connections between the two. And the overall thematic connection is that both Uplift and RC2 is there for whatever the communities need. Period. Hard stop. So so that's what I feel is the main programmatic connection. We are so happy to have Rashawn and Scott here. Thank you for being here. Kofi, Simon, Hessa, y'all didn't need to be here, but really appreciate you being here. And best of all, is my RC2 family, the non-losers, who are here. You're proud, you're loud. Well, you're not that loud, but you're here, and we appreciate you being here. I am going to, at this point, ask Scott to come up, and you're going to be standing here in front of this lovely recording device, as well as that lovely recording device. And that way we can share with our other RC2 family members after the fact.
All right, well, thanks for having me. Scott Crocker with North Carolina State Parks. I'm the Trails Program Manager. I've spent 23 years as a state employee. Most of that time was with state parks. And I've been the Trails Program Manager for about the last 7 years. So in that role, what I do is we oversee all the trail system in North Carolina State Parks. So we have almost 700 miles of trail in all of our state parks. But the other part of my job that probably y'all will find more interesting and like to talk more about is that I run I'm the state administrator for the Recreational Trails Program. And that is a grant program, federal highway grant program that gives away money to build trails. So we build trails that range from multi-use, off-highway vehicle, equestrian, canoe, paddle trails, hiking, I feel like I'm missing something there, but mountain bike trails. So we build all types of trails. We give away about $1.5 million each year, and they're $100,000 grants. So give you some kind of quantify that a little bit. $100,000 grant typically it's about $25,000 a mile to build trail if you pay a professional trail builder. So it's a reimbursement grant program. It is an 80-20. So if you apply for 100,000, you got to match 25,000. Yeah, so reimbursement wise, you can, a lot of the challenges are for people to have that money up front. So that could be a difficulty. We can phase our budgets and do things so that you don't have to invest a lot of money right up front. You can actually have a pretty small budget and really get a lot done. So that's just a very quick overview of what our trail program, our grant program is. But I didn't really want to try to present a whole lot. I'm more interested in answering questions and networking, just giving you a good introduction to what we do. We have regional consultants that will work with you in your region to help you. We actually don't do you don't have to just apply for grant projects. We consult as well. So we'll actually go out, if you do have an existing trail system, we can actually give you, services that are us going in the field with you and looking at your trail system, perhaps suggesting improvements, that sort of thing. So we do a lot of different things across the state in addition to working inside of our state parks. So go to our website, trails.nc.gov, and you'll find your regional trail specialist, and you'll also find information on how to apply and what types of services we offer if you want a grant. So I'd be glad to take any questions if anybody has any up front. That's correct. For the benefit of the recording, I'll just kind of repeat what you said as far as if you have an idea, have a plan, have just a concept, yeah, you would just reach out to our regional trail specialist for your region. And that's the best place to start. We often get reached out to, and people say, well, I've got this, old road bed that I really think would make a great trail. And we immediately cringe when we hear the term old road bed. Doesn't usually make great trail. But no, if you do have a concept, an idea, it's a great place to start just bouncing it off of our trail specialist, because we might have some very quick feedback that says, just throw that idea out the window. Let's just build you a brand new trail system from scratch. Bench cut it properly, build it properly. We have, believe it or not, trail building is a science. It's all about getting water off your trail. It's all about building it properly from the ground up. And if you don't start with a good plan, a good design, you're going to have a whole trail system that you're really having to struggle to take care of for all time. So so reaching out to your regional trail specialist is the best place to start. Mm-hmm.
Do they have your someone that's helped with the actual planning, or is that more conceptualizing and then someone with that then do that?
We will help with some planning. So I've got 3 trail specialists across the state. So in addition to taking care of all the trails that we have in state parks, there are also just 3 people across all 100 counties that are trying to give feedback and consult with anybody that might be applying. So if somebody does get a grant, we do offer some of our time. We can't offer, but we can only offer so much. It's kind of part of the project is having somebody professionally build it. But we'll generally offer a day at a time. If you get a $100,000 grant and you've got a trail system you're trying to design, we can't really give more than about a day of our time, to go on site. But in a day, we could, if it's a fairly straightforward trail design and you got a lot of room to work with, it's not too complicated, we might be able to design a couple of miles of trail in one day. and help flag it, corridor flag it. And then beyond that, a professional trail builder would come out and build it. Yep. State Parks is doing that right now. We have a planning department, and we have a consultant. I forget which consultant it is that's doing that plan. But we actually had a scoping meeting. That's why I was out there. We were talking about just what are we trying to get accomplished in this master plan. So we had an initial information gathering site visit with the consultants to talk about what we're trying to get done. And I drove, basically, we drove the entire trail system, and it was all old road beds. It's an equestrian, historically was an equestrian site. So we were able to drive most of that trail system because it is old and pretty wide corridors. So we actually got to lay eyes on pretty much the whole trail system there. But there is going to be a whole master planning process that's happening out there. Beautiful property. Yeah, there'll be public meetings. During the planning process, there's usually there's public meetings that are planned, and public input is a huge part of the planning process. Absolutely.
Got it. I guess one last question for me.
Sure.
You did say you were not having you were laying and happen.
Yeah.
Repeat that for those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we work on the paddle trails, and we're in the state we have several of our state trails, our paddle trails. Fritz Broad, Yadkin River. Roanoke River is one of our newest state trails. That's beautiful. So a lot of that is accesses, having good access points, and that's something that the river's already there. You don't have to build it, but you do have to build good access points, and so that's a huge part. And there is a whole designation process, and for the state trails, and these access points get approved essentially and designated by the secretary of our department. Okay, yep, sure. Yeah, what was your question?
Well, I just wonder, if you still work with that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If it's a state trail, we actually have a state trail planner. We have a couple of different people that work with planning with state parks, but we are allowed to work and consult with anybody. It does not have to be a state trail. If it is a state trail, that is technically a unit of the park system, state park system. So it gives a little bit more incentive and leeway to work and put more time into it. But we would still work with anybody on any paddle access. That's one of the things that's, there's a lot of places where you put in. I mean, I grew up paddling. That's what I did all through college. And, you pull off the side of the highway and slide down the hill and the mud bank down into the river. And it's, having good access is a challenge sometimes. So, and we do land acquisition with our, $100,000 might not buy you much, but it can be part of a land acquisition for paddle access. Yes. Yep, sure can.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Rashawn King. I work for Recreational Resources Services out of NC State. I've been with RRS for 4 years now. Started off as the Central West consultant, went to the Central East, and now I'm the outreach consultant for the entire state of North Carolina. So pretty much in a nutshell, RRS, we are the liaison between North Carolina State Parks Grant Outreach Office and local departments. We assist North Carolina State Parks with administering 2 grant programs, the Land and Water Conservation Fund and the Parks Recreational Trust Fund. Now I get to those 2 before I'm going to talk a little bit about RRS. So with RRS, we also do more things outside of administering those 2 grants. Probably about 80% of our job is grant administration. The other 20% is kind of split down the middle. So 10% of that is where we come in and we do technical assistance. We come in and assist local departments with advisory board training. We come in and assist them with developing planning documents such as comprehensive system-wide plans, site-specific master plans, capital improvement plans. So that's pretty much what we do with the technical assistance. Also, we host educational sessions. So on an annually basis, we host the largest directors conference in the state of North Carolina. We host a trails workshop every year out in Asheville, North Carolina that we do, which actually is coming up. We just finished our leadership conference, which is an all women's leadership. It's an all women's conference that we host, like a women's empowerment conference. We just had it in Durham at the Durham Armory, where we have probably over more than 300 women come to this one conference, and we got them coming from different places across the country. Just like I said, it's like a women's empowerment conference. Everybody come in, get educated on different things in the field of parks and recreation. Also outside of that, we also have the luxury to go to other universities and different high schools, kind of educate those students, those park professionals those students are going to become parks professionals in our field. Try to get them more acclimated with RRS, North Carolina State University and the College of Natural Resources. So like I stated prior, we also, like I said, we managed 2 grants, the Land and Water Conservation Fund and the Parks and Recreational Trust Fund. Land and Water Conservation Fund, short for that, is LWCF. Has anybody heard of LWCF before? I know Scott has. LWCF is geared towards outdoor recreation only. So if you apply for this grant, it's a 50-50 grant. So you can request up to $500,000, but you have to match that depending on what your project budget is or project cost is. So LWCF, like I said, is geared towards outdoor recreation, and whatever elements that you get funded for, that's in perpetuity forever. So whatever you get funded for from the state, it has to stay within your park forever. So then we have the state level grant, which is the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, and the short for that is called PARTF. PARTF is was developed based off of LWCF, so it's a duplicate grant program, but it's just on the state level. And that's where North Carolina State Parks Grant Outreach Office administers that grant with RRS, and LWCF is administered with RRS, North Carolina State Parks and the National Park Service. So with PARTF, we actually have it's active going on right now. The deadline for it is May the 1st. LWCF deadline just surpassed. It was March 15th. So if anybody's interested in applying for PARTF, you can definitely contact me as an outreach consultant, and I can get you in connection with your consultant within your region. Our application process is really fairly durable processes. There's a lot of things that are required when it comes to these application processes. We require that you submit certain documents, like planning documents, like I was stating earlier. We want to make sure that you have totally involved and just different things like that when it comes to need surveys, public meetings, things such as that nature. So with our Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant, there is an appointed board by our Governor Roy Cooper and the Secretary of State. There's 9 members. These members are the appointed board members that make the final decision on who get funded for the application. So we have a park authority meeting with them once a year around August 26th, and we sit down. We go downtown and we sit down in the Museum of Natural Science, and we make these final decisions based off the applications that are put in within the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund and the Land and Water Conservation Fund as well. So like I said, PARTF is still open and active for anybody that wants to apply for PARTF. Like I said, the deadline is May the 1st. You can definitely reach out to me, get in contact with me, and I can get you in contact with the consultant that's within your region. So, and also with the 2 grant programs, you can apply for these 2 grant programs for land acquisition projects or development projects, whichever one you decide to do. So with the development side, we normally have local departments that apply for getting renovation or new trails. They apply for playgrounds, recreation centers. You name it. Whatever you really think you want to apply for when it comes to recreation, we can pretty much most likely assist you with that. We also help fund support facilities. So that comes with restrooms, parking lots, things of that nature. So and LWCF does that as well. But we kind of want to make sure that anybody applies for LWCF, that you want to make sure that the recreational elements that you're applying for is for outdoor recreation. So prime example of those like tennis courts, pickleball courts. Oh my gosh, pickleball is the biggest thing in the state right now. Swimming pools, splash pads, things like that, playgrounds, things of that nature. So we do a pretty good job with our 2 grant programs. They've both been around for quite a while, probably more than 30 years plus. Anybody have any questions or concerns about anything?
Same question that Scott got about consultant. You have 6 consultants.
Yeah, so this year was our first time going back to our traditional style. RRS was first established. They had 6 consultants. When I came on board, it was only 4. So they split the state down in 4 regions. So when I started off, I was in the Central West, like I stated. I was in charge of more than 30 counties, and I was in charge of every town and city within those counties in regards to grant administration and technical assistance. So now we split it up into 6 regions. So we have the Northeast, the Southeast, the Central, South, Central North, and then we have a West Region consultant that's out there. His name is Mr. Blake. So he's out there by himself. And then we have the outreach consultant, which I'm in charge of the entire state. So with my role, as an outreach consultant, I go in and I help local departments that have a hard time connecting with underserved communities. I help them do advisory board trainings. I focus on certain areas within the state that has minimum grant administration. So prime example, like that northeast area of the state right now does not have a lot of grant administration when it comes to our 2 grant programs, like the LWCF I'm part of. So I'm going to take my initiative to focus on that area and work with those directors and try to help them get more activated about 2 programs. And pretty much in a nutshell, I'm just here for all the communities and all the parks and recreation, the park directors across the state to kind of help them with whatever they need.